Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live from Black Facts Headquarters Central with the proverb of the day. Let's see what we have for today. Stump water won't cure the grapes. Stump water won't cure the grapes. Plantation proverb. Now, we had a Black fact from yesterday, which is, which city is the capital of Madagascar? Bamako or Antananarivo? So we're going to come back and answer that one in just a little bit after we read some more from our book, Tulsa Burning. Yeah, Tulsa Burning. So let's see what's going on in Tulsa tonight. Get this show on the road. All right, here we go. So, the little boy and his mother are talking about, because their dad passed away, so they're talking about where they're going to go and live and how they're going to make it. And she's planning on moving in with the sheriff, but the child don't want to live at the sheriff's house. He don't particularly care for the sheriff. Anger flashed. So I'll go back one little short paragraph. I stared at her. Don't be making no such plans on my account, I said. I don't want none of the sheriff's money, and I don't want to live in his fine house with you, hoping his wife will pass on soon. Anger flashed across her face. I never done no planning before I married your pa. There was a break in her voice, and for a minute, I thought she might cry, but she didn't. Now he's laying in the back of Jones' furniture store, stone cold and waiting for Roscoe Jones to make him a box. They're near, she pointed to the skillet. See them taters? They're near about the last food we got. She shook her head. Oh, we could find a neighbor to take us in, be someone's charity. No, I got the plan for the future. There was no trace of a sob in her voice. Toward the end, only flatness and a terrible final sound. I'm going out, I said. I'll be back when supper's ready. You didn't wash, she protested, but I went anyway. Through the back screen door onto the porch, the spring night met me with the cry of what seemed like 1,000 tree frogs, and I breathed in deep gulps of the soft air, trying to forget everything but the night and its sounds. Old Rex came to me, and I dropped down on the edge of the porch to stroke the dog's back. Good old boy, I said. We're leaving this place. Ma's planning for our future. A moan came up from inside me then, a moan born from a sudden and certain thought. He won't want a dog, I whispered, and I pressed my face against the top of the dog's head. But I won't go without you. I won't take a step toward that sheriff's fine house, not without you, boy. Ma called me then, and I went inside. Dinner was on the table. I slid onto the bench, bent over my plate, and went to filling my mouth with fried potatoes and onions. Ma brought her own plate to come and settle across from me, but she only took a bite or two. We didn't do no talking. When I was done eating, I carried my plate to the rickety cook table and set it next to the dishpan. Then I went back outside. Rex stayed beside me. For a real long time, we walked through the fields and the pasture. If I kicked a rock, I'd start to bend over and pick it up, but I stopped myself. I wouldn't be trying to plow these fields no more. I was done with fighting the rocks. I figured the rocks could have the place now. When I got too tired to make my feet move good, we went back to the house and settled on the ground beneath the big cottonwood near the barn. From there, I could see my ma's bedroom window. Soon, a lantern light appeared there, briefly, before she blew it out. She's in bed now, so I can go inside, I said to Rex. I went into the house, blew out the lantern on the kitchen table, made my way to the tiny room at the side of the house, and threw myself on the narrow bed. That's what happened before we buried Paul. The next day, standing beside the grave, I could feel Sheriff Leonard looking at me. I tried not to think about the stinking sheriff, just kept my eyes on the preacher who was talking about heaven. It was purely impossible for me to believe Preacher Jackson had any real hope that Melvin Chase could make it to heaven. Everyone around our place and in the small town of Wekiwa knowed that my pa was a drunk. It didn't seem likely to me that God would let a man who had once puked right on the church steps during Sunday service into heaven. Pa had never done one good thing that I know of. Suddenly, I closed my eyes, remembering. There was that one time I was 4 years old. So that made it 11 years ago. It was summer, and I had gone out into the backyard with no shoes. I went to pick little purple wildflowers for Ma, and I got right in a big patch of stickers. At first, I just hollered out, but then I realized no one was coming to help me. Standing on one foot, I picked up the other one, turned it up, and started to remove the stickers, but I lost my balance and tumbled into the thorny patch. My legs, protected by overalls, were fine, but I didn't have on no shirt. Now my back was full of stickers too. I just gave up, closed my eyes, and sobbed. Then I felt myself being lifted higher than I ever had been lifted before. The arms were strong, and I knowed even without opening my eyes that it was my pa who lifted me. He'll hurt me now, I thought. My pa always hit me if I cried, and forgetting the stickers in my back, I drew myself as much as possible into a ball and waited for the blow. Don't cry, little man, a voice said. I thought the voice was my pa's voice, but I could never remember pa ever talking soft like to me before. Let's get those birds out of you, and you'll quit the hurting. The man's face was close to mine. This could not be my pa. There wasn't no smell like that came from pa's bottles and stayed on his breath. Afraid, I opened just one eye to peek. It was my pa. He carried me into the house and put me on the kitchen bench. Pa took out every sticker with his own hands. He done that. Next, he wet a cloth with water warm from the tea kettle and washed my face, back, and feet. Then, without a word, he kissed the top of my head and went out the back door. Now, remembering, I touched the top of my own head. Oh, pa, I thought, why couldn't you ever be that way again? I remembered trying once a few weeks later to recreate the scene by going on purpose into the stickers when my pa was nearby. I yelled out in pain, but pa, cursing, just left me there and disappeared into the barn. I stayed in that sticker patch crying for a long time. Ain't no use of bawling. I finally told myself, you might as well give it up. I bit my lip and crawled out of them stickers. One place on my hand had blood on it, but I didn't do no more crying. I couldn't remember much crying at all after that day. But now, standing beside my pa's grave, I felt one tear slip from my eye and roll down my cheek. Chapter 2. When the preacher stopped talking, I realized it was time to cover the box. Preacher Jackson took a shovel, stuck it into the earth, and tossed the dirt onto the box. Lucky it's springtime when we get lots of rain, I thought. The preacher didn't look strong enough to dig in Oklahoma earth when it was dry. He filled the shovel again and handed it to Ma. When Ma had tossed her dirt on the box, the preacher took the shovel back. He started to put it in the ground again, but I stepped over and took it from him. I could fill my own shovel with dirt to throw on Pa's grave. When it was over, I stood looking at the mound of dirt and thinking that Pa was really gone. Used to be that he controlled our lives even when he was gone from home. This time would be different. There wouldn't be no homecoming. When he'd cuss or throw the coffee pot full of hot coffee, I expected to get some feeling of lightness, knowing it was over with him. But there wasn't no relief in the knowledge, only a strong, aching emptiness. I looked at the grave and wished I could buy him some kind of headstone. Ma and me were the first to move. We left the neighbor men with their hats in their hands and the women with sad eyes. Cindy Phillips took after us and pulled at my arm. "Heard you all are moving to town," she said softly. "Reckon that's so," I managed to say, but I couldn't look at Cinda. Lately, I'd started to be uncomfortable around her on account of the impure thoughts. See, me and Cinda have been friends since we was 6 years old, but just a few months ago, I noticed that Cinda didn't look the same. Her chest wasn't flat no more. I reckon that's normal and all. It's me that ain't normal or decent. I spend a lot of time fighting them impure thoughts, but it ain't easy. I tried just to think about how we got to be friends. She had just moved into the house down the road from our place, and I walked by there on my way to school. She was standing beside her swing under the mulberry tree in the front yard. We could walk to school together. She yelled and she smiled, her big smile that showed both front teeth were missing. I felt real bashful, just looked down at my bare feet and didn't say nothing. I'd seen Cinda in front of her place when we drove by in the wagon, and once she come with her mother to sit on the front porch with Ma. Her name's Cinda, Ma told me. But I just ducked behind my ma's skirt. "What's wrong with you, little boy?" Cinda asked me on that first school morning. "Has the cat got your tongue?" "I'm not a little boy," I told her. "I'm big as you, maybe bigger." I moved over to stand beside Cinda, measuring with my eyes how her red pigtailed head measured against my blonde one. We didn't say nothing to each other, just started walking the half mile to the school. Just outside the one-room schoolhouse, I stopped, suddenly, just too scared to go inside. I stepped back, away from the door. "I can't go to school," I said. "I don't know nothing about reading the numbers." Cinda reached out to grab my hand. "Come on, silly," she said. "You ain't supposed to know nothing when you first go to school. We're going to have us a teacher and books." For 8 years, we walked to school together. Last year, we finished at the little school down the road. Pa didn't see no sense in me going to town for high school, but Cinda's pa drove us into Wekiwa. Us hunkered down in the back of his old truck. Up front was one seat, just big enough for the driver. The rest of the cab was filled with glass jugs of milk that Mr. Phillips would deliver to customers in town. Sometimes Mr. Phillips picked us up after school. Sometimes we walked the 3 miles home. If Pa was out on a drunk, Ma might drive the wagon into town to get us. It made me mad at myself for having them impure thoughts that made me so uncomfortable with Cinda. When she caught up with me and Ma at the cemetery, I just looked down at my shoes while she talked. "It'll be sort of lonesome for me on the ride to school next year," she said. I opened up my mouth to say something to her, but no words came to mind. I just stood there, too dadgum dumb to talk. Ma saved me. "We'll be living over at Sheriff and Mrs. Leonard's place," she said, and she put her hand on Cinda's shoulder. "You come by there and say hey to us, you hear?" Ma moved off a little and Cinda turned back to me. "I want you to take this," she said, and she took something out of her dress pocket. She reached over, took my hand, and dropped a cold, hard object into it. I opened my fingers and looked down at her lucky silver dollar. Wow, she gave him her lucky silver dollar. I don't give nobody my lucky $2 bill now. That's mine. I ain't giving that up. No, because it's lucky, right? Got to hold on to it. So, at any rate, we'll leave off there and see. Tomorrow is Sunday. We'll read some more from this book tomorrow as well. Now, let's see. Where are we at here? Oh, yeah. Named a Philadelphia native who became a platinum recording artist, a television star, and an Oscar-nominated actor before turning 35 years old. That's actually your question for tomorrow. For today's question, the one that you're supposed to be answering, let's see, what did I have down here? Which city is the capital of Madagascar, Bamako or Antananarivo? Did y'all answer this question yesterday? No, I don't think you did. So let's do this one, make sure. Which city is the capital? And the answer is Antananarivo. Bamako is the capital of Mali. Okay? And the question for tomorrow night will be, name Philly's platinum winning artist who also did what else did he do? See, he did something else. Oh yeah, here we go. Who became a platinum recording artist, TV star, and an Oscar-nominated actor before turning 35. So that's your task for tonight. Think about it, look it up, Google it, see what you can find out. It's a brother from Philly. Or it's somebody from Philly. I can't say it's male or female, but it is somebody from Philly. That we can say for sure. And meanwhile, I need all you little children out there to lay your little heads down on your little pillows, on your little beds. Close those your eyes and wait for that sun to rise. When you see those sunbeams, when you feel those sunbeams coming down on your eyes, that's when it's time for you to rise. And no sooner than that. And when you do, I hope you wake up as a real happy cat. Meanwhile, for all you adults out there, we're still in the midst of our fall fundraising drive. Looking for more donations. Donate through PayPal. That's a direct donation. Send it to kkhemet@gmail.com. Or if you like, you can donate through our GoFundMe page in the donation section of the website. That's at blackfacts.org on the internet. Or if you like, you can even, I believe I put a link up there today. I'm not sure where I put it at, but it's either on the personal page. I think it's on my personal page. You should be able to go there and also hit a link, and that'll take you to a sign up page where you can sign up for Amazon Smile. It only takes a minute, costs you no money whatsoever, but 0.1% of every purchase you make will come directly to Black Facts. So that's another way that you can help out in our fundraising efforts, because it takes money to do what we're doing here. It takes money to purchase all these books. We get books here every single day in the mail, maybe even on Sundays at times, because we're members of Amazon Prime as well. So it all takes money, and we need your support with monetarily and otherwise. You can also, we'll be having some volunteer opportunities coming up here soon as well, which we'll go into a little bit later. But right now, I'm just putting you on notice. So we'll look to see you tomorrow. We'll be doing our weekly rewind. That'll be the one for the children. And then we'll be back here at 9:00 tomorrow evening. Until then, keep it grin from your ear to your chin, because that's how you can win. Peace out now.